How to install a Pilar pull-down kitchen faucet featuring Touch2O technology. The goal of this video is to walk you through installing your 2-hole kitchen pull-down faucet featuring Touch2O technology. We will be using the faucet design shown here, although your faucet may look different since designs and finishes will vary. As with any faucet installation, check to make sure everything is in the box using the Quick Start Guide or the Maintenance and Installation Guide for reference. Before you begin, you'll want to assemble the tools you'll need for the job, like 2 adjustable wrenches, a Phillips head screwdriver, safety goggles, and you may want to have a flashlight handy to help you see under the sink. You may also need silicone if the surface of your counter or sink is uneven. The first step is installing the spout. The instructions for this step vary depending upon whether you have a top mount or under mount sink. A top mount sink has a rim around the sink and has been set in on top of the counter. The mounting for an under mount sink is not visible from above the counter and does not have a rim around the sink. This video will walk you through an under mount installation. For top mount installation instructions, reference the Quick Start Guide or the Maintenance and Installation Guide. Now, let's get started. For this step, you will need packet 1 and the spout from the box. First, pull and extend the LED wire from the bottom of the spout. It will hang under the sink after the spout is installed. At the bottom of the spout is a groove. Insert the gasket into the groove and press so that it seats or fits snugly all the way around. Next, partially thread the screws onto the nut. Set aside. From packet 1, snap the metal bracket and spout insulating element together. Then insert the clip. Set this aside for a moment. Place the spout in the sink, making sure that the LED light is facing forward. If the surface of the sink is rough or uneven, use a little silicone on the gasket to help seal gaps. From beneath the sink, slide the spout insulator over the shank, making sure the lettering on the insulator will be pressing against the sink or deck. Make sure that the lip of the insulator is properly seated in the mounting hole. The insulator keeps the spout shank from contacting the metal sink, which could cause your faucet to activate erratically. Secure the spout in place with the isolation spacer, followed by the combined bracket insulating element and the nut. Thread the nut onto the shank by hand until secure. Make sure the holes of the bracket remain aligned with the holes in the sink as you're tightening. Lastly, tighten the screws with the Phillips screwdriver, taking care not to over-tighten. Now, if you're installing on a top-mount sink, instead of using the insulator, you will secure the spout with the isolation plate or the isolation spacer if you have a thicker sink. Next, we'll install the valve. For this step, you will need packet number 2 from the box, the solenoid assembly, and the faucet valve. Start by sliding the gasket up over the supply lines and into the groove in the base of the valve assembly. With the handle in the off position, pointing forward toward the sink, feed the supply lines through the hole in the sink. Center the assembly in the hole. Again, if the sink surface is rough or uneven, just apply silicone to the gasket to fill in any gaps. Below the sink, use the mounting bracket to secure the valve assembly to the sink. Put the nut on the threaded rod. Using the special wrench supplied with the faucet, attach the nut and tighten securely to the sink. If the valve sleeve is loose, or if you have a gap between the valve sleeve and deck or sink, just rotate the sleeve clockwise until it's snug. Now we'll put the solenoid into place. Below deck, slide the solenoid assembly up onto the valve outlet. When it's on completely, attach the metal retaining clip through the thin slots on top of the solenoid inlet. It is important that the clip is secured in the right position. Do not install it upside down, and make certain that the clip slides into the grooves on the black hose adapter. Pull down to test that the connection is secure. The next step is to make the wiring connections. For this step, you will need the battery box and batteries that you set aside from Step 3A. To begin, you need to make sure that you have dissipated any static charge by touching the cold stop or another ground. Attach the wire with the C-clip from the solenoid assembly to the groove of the shank, making sure that the wire points away from the valve. Remove the protective plastic cap from the LED wire that is hanging from the shank. Connect the LED wire to the solenoid assembly. Keep the wires from twisting together and from touching. Then connect the orange wire from the valve to the matching orange connection from the solenoid. Remove the backing from the wire housing clip and adhere to the interior cabinet wall near the solenoid. Feed the LED wire through the clip. Load 6 AA batteries into the battery pack. All electrical connections must be made before you load the batteries. With batteries in place within the pack, connect the wire from the solenoid to the top of the battery pack. Place the battery pack flat on the cabinet floor, at least 2 inches from the cabinet walls and other objects. If your battery pack doesn't reach the floor, you can set it on a non-metallic object at least 2 inches from the cabinet walls. Now you will need to connect the water lines. For this step, you will use packet 4 from the box. You will also need 2 adjustable wrenches. Remove the check valves and ferrules from the bag. You'll need to install these onto the supply stops. If ferrules and nuts are already present on your stops, you must remove them. The check valves and ferrules provided with your faucet are essential for the faucet to operate properly. Then, starting with the cold water, insert the ferrule into the cold water stop. Screw on the check valve by hand tightening. Then, take the adjustable wrench and make 1 full turn to finish tightening the check valves into place. It is very important not to over-tighten the check valves. Now do the same for the hot water stop. Look at the ends of the hot and cold water lines and check to make sure all fittings and end connections are free of debris. Attach the cold water line, blue, to the cold check valve. Hand tighten the nut to a snug position, then give it another full turn with a wrench. You'll want to hold the nut in place on the check valve while you're tightening the nut from the supply line. Do the same for the other stop. When installing the water lines, you may need to loop any extra length as shown. Delta Faucet Company strongly recommends against cutting the supply lines, as doing so introduces a potential leak point. If your project requires cut lines, see the Maintenance and Installation Guide for custom fit connection instructions. Do not use pipe dope or other sealants on waterline connections. You'll want to hold the nut in place on the check valve while you are tightening the nut from the supply line. It's time to flush the lines and attach the spray wand. First, pull the wand out of the spout and remove the spray head. Pull the end of the hose down into the sink, put the handle in the full on mixed position. Then flush water lines for about 1 minute. This will drain the spout hose to flush away any debris. Install the spray wand by hand tightening it onto the end of the hose. Turn on the water to make sure the connection is tight and no water is coming out of the connection of the wand to the hose. Check under the sink to make sure there's nothing that will interfere with the electrical connections or with the motion of the hose when the spray wand is pulled out of the spout. Then check the connections to the solenoid and the connections at the stops for any leaks. Retighten if necessary, but don't over-tighten. Once the faucet is installed, it's time to test it. Use the handle to turn the faucet on, and then tap the spout to turn it off and on electronically. You will need to use a deliberate touch like playing a piano. Touching too fast or too slow will not produce the desired results. Grasp and rotate the spout. Touch2O Technology is smart enough to know the difference between a grasp and a touch, and will not change the function of the water when you grasp the spout to move it. Test the spray and stream modes of the wand. With proper installation, your pull-down kitchen faucet with Touch2O Technology will bring years of stylish, efficient, trouble-free water delivery.